Hello, World Tank Blitzers, it's Littlefinger, and hey, today we are doing a full tank review on the Predator Ultramarines. Yesterday we did the Vindicator, and today we're doing the Predator. This is a tier 7 heavy tank from the Hybrid Nation, and you can see it here in the garage. This is one big tank. You can see here, comparing it to an IS-2, look at the difference here. This thing is enormous. And what does that cause? It causes huge amounts of problems because you only have 5 degrees of gun depression. So any tank that gets up close to you is really difficult to hit. You do have some nice frontal armor. We'll get into that here in a second. Looking at the upgrades, we'll show you here you've got an 80mm auto loader. It does have decent accuracy and pen. You can do about 500 damage per roll, which is certainly nice, but your limited mobility and your stature being so tall, it's hard to hide this tank, and it's just a really difficult tank to play. If you like my reviews, hey, please hit that subscribe button. I can't say that enough. My goal here is 10,000. We just passed the 5K mission, and now we've set a mission for 10K. You know, keeping it real, right? So anyway, under bundles right now, you've got the options for the Vindicator and Predator. $30 comes with all the equipment slots unlocked. But if you want to, Predator is $20 by itself, no equipment. Horrible, horrible deal. Do not even consider it. That is my warning to you. But if you're someone that already owns it, like myself, who dropped money on it, like myself, who wants to learn to play it a little bit better, I'll talk about that here coming up. But let's just talk about how I'm running it. Again, another super slow tank, just like the Vindicator. So we're running standard fuel, improved fuel, and field rations. Ammunition here, you can see I don't even have a full loadout. We'll just bump those up a little bit. 56, 30, and 16. Really have no problem with the amount of ammo in this tank. As far as equipment goes, you can see I have only spent money on this top level, which would be improved vents, defense system, and improved optics. Not even worth really spending money on the additional levels there. If I did, I'd probably go with enhanced gun lane drive, enhanced armor, the engine accelerator, and probably the refined gun, leaving the last two there just because they get kind of expensive down there at tier 3. All right, guys, armor inspector here, and you know, with a heavy tank with really different armor, a tank you don't see very often, it's kind of good to get the armor inspector out and just go through what we're looking at here on this tank. And so you can see on the sides we've only got, depends on where you're pointing here, various amounts of armor, but mostly all green when shot with here a Dracula with calibrated shells. When we start looking at the front though, when we get it pretty much flat here, you can see that with that sloped armor, we've got 185 effective armor, 237 on the front. The turret's real nice here. Obviously our weak spot there in the commander's hatch. And of course, along this lower plate. So to be as effective as you can, you want to be a side scraping tank. Imagine that the front plate here is hidden behind a hard object. And this really gets you into a really nice position. However, there's not many games where you're going to be able to side scrape quite like this. So if you are out in the open, if you angle and shoot over that front wheel, you can see here you pretty much can make that whole front fairly red. Chance of penetration there on that lower plate. Nothing here on the sloped angle of the front there, but there's these two little windows that are penetrable. It's going to be a difficult shot, especially if you're rocking back and forth. So again, get into a nice side scraping position here. It's going to make it difficult to get penned. If you're out in the open, you kind of want to wiggle back and forth here and make the other guy, you know, decide, hey, I'm just going to go for that hatch on the top. So you're going to get a lot of bounces out of this tank, and that's probably about one of the few very good things about it. So real quick on my own ruins here, I'm just going to jump ahead in this game and show you the first really bad example in this tank, and that is your gun depression in relationship to the height of this tank. And I'm coming up on this Type 62, and you know, he's what, 20-30 meters in front of me, and I can't get the gun depression down. That's just crazy, you know. I can't even shoot that tank. Then I come around the other side. Here's IS-3. You know, that was lucky that penned even with APCR straight on through the front. So you've got to keep a distance between yourself and these other tanks. And here I am trying to side scrape, turned a little bit too much into the side. And the other team here has just pushed through the middle. And, you know, I'm expecting them to be kind of held up a little bit. We're finally going to get some gun depression here, get a couple shots in, but I take two from the back side there because I've got no support behind me. And that's going to play out here again in this next example. Here we are on a supremacy game. The team's called C. And, you know, I'm slow. I'm actually almost leading the charge here. And I'm going to get into what I think is a fairly decent side scraping position. I can get shots in to the guys as they come across that opening there. And what you're going to see in this example is, yeah, while you might have an autoloader that can, you know, unleash 3 shots really quick, back to back, with 1.5 seconds in between shots, when you got tanks on the other side that are playing peekaboom, they're out and in within 1.5 seconds. And so basically rendering your autoloader useless in a situation like that. And so now here I am, a slow tank, you know, I get 1 shot in, and he gets a shot in, does more damage than me, and he backs up, and he's able to reload. Again, gun depression coming in here as I look to my right, trying to get shots into the JG there. But I mean, you're in a big tank, a slow tank, and you've got no gun depression. Yeah, you're gonna bounce a few shots. There's one there, but I mean, you know, that's just difficult. 5 degrees of gun depression is horrible in a tank this tall. So here I am, I'm just getting pushed on, and I'm trying to get back away, but the IS is here in my way. So I'm not backing up, and these guys are just peekabooming, and they're faster than me, and I can't get any shots in. And, you know, it just happens so frequently in a tank like this. But as I get started here on this game on Yamato Harbor, I don't want you to think that every game is a bad game in this tank. And here I've pulled up Blitz stars, comparing the Predator to the Tiger P, which I think is, you know, the go-to tank, tier 7 heavy. And you can see off the bat here, we've got higher DPM at 2,414. We don't have quite the pen there at 165, but with a 180 alpha, we're doing, you know, upwards of 550, 560 in a single clip. And you'll see that in action here in this game. As we look at the weapon handling, you'll see that we've got actually a better aim time than the Tiger P, a little bit worse on the dispersion. But there's that 5 degrees of gun depression that is so difficult with such a tall tank. So to round out a few more comparisons to the Tiger P, our top speed is 32 kilometers per hour, whereas the Tiger P is a little bit faster there at 35. So all of those power to weight ratios and everything are a little bit better in the Tiger P. So it's actually going to feel like a faster tank. And we're coming up here on the Bulldog. You know, we can't go through that building, which is pretty sad. So we get 2 out of those 3 shots to go in. We are now on a full reload. Tiger P's got 1,450 hit points, whereas we have 1,320 in this tank without any equipment. So the fact that the Tiger's got 200 mil of frontal hull armor, we've only got 130. You know, it just speaks volumes to the fact that really that Tiger P with its mobility is a much better, stronger tank. But you know, when we get guys here that can't even cover up, there's 535 damage. And I'm just now waiting for my reload. AMX has gone full on across there. So I'm going to go in here and get my 3 shots in. 1, 2, 3. And then we back away. 550 damage there. So, you know, when you get a situation like that, it's really nice. Certainly adds up your scores, and you can get in some decent damage. So here's a good example here for some long distance accuracy shots, which this tank is not horrible for a heavy tank. I mean, you know, if you're in an IS here, there's no way in hell you're making a shot like this. But we're going to take 3 shots. First one bounces, second one goes through, and the third one, I believe, they're bounced as well. So they all hit their target, but you know, we got a very small target there on the turret of that Tiger 2 that's facing us. Lycan's coming across. We get 2 of the 3 to go back in there, so 2,400 damage. We've got a Tiger driving straight in front of us, but we're in a long reload. So I'm going to switch over to APCR, and I'm just going to be patient, wait for the aim, and we're going to take 2 and finish him off. So 2,600 damage here as bottom tier, and we're not quite done yet. I'm thinking that this game should be over, so I kind of just decided to sit there on the hill a little bit. But now it's getting a little bit closer. 3 on 2, so we're coming in, and thankfully that Tiger P here pushes, not the Tiger 1 pushes right in front of us, as opposed to going up the side of the ship. First shot into the dirt there, and we get 2 in here, and you know, at this point, game's pretty much over, so we're just gonna get a little ram damage, and we're gonna finish just north of 3,000 damage. So, you know, not every game is going to be a horrible game, but you've really got to work yourself into those situations. And again, you're going to get yourself in trouble if you're on the front line. So in that game, I kind of let the game play out, waited till the right time to move in so that I can maximize my shot potential and not get into a situation where I'm playing against tanks that are peekaboom and I'm only getting 1-for-1 trades. So here's game on Copperfields, and this is Supremacy, and we're top tier here. So expect to get a few more bounces, tanks that can't figure out how to pen us, and that's obviously where the fun all comes in from driving a heavy tank. Now I'm going to rush up here and try to pick out my little spot that I really enjoy playing here on mines. And this E25 is going to come around and kind of not necessarily get in my spot, but you know, that's where I want to be. And thankfully that VK is going to rush up here, and there's a full clip into the VK. Now the interesting thing about this tank is look how tall it is. I mean, we're already peeking over. It's hard to keep this tank hidden, and I guess that guy just didn't realize that hey, I'm an autoloader and I'm going to do 500 damage, and so yeah, poor VK hardly even got a shot off. But they've pushed into A hard, and I'm feeling the heat a little bit being kind of at the front line. So I figure what I'm going to do here is try to trade shots. We do a 3-for-2 trade there with the Black Prince. So obviously a little bit lower damage per shot from the BP. So over 500 damage in there again. Helsing is pushing hard. And their E25 is going to come around here. There he is. And unfortunately that first shot misses, and Helsing jumps in there And so boom, boom, I've taken a couple big shots already, and we're down to 300 damage. Thankfully, Helsing gets taken out there, and the E25 bounces. Big shot puts the Black Prince close to death, and then we get a nice high roll of 213 to finish him off. And so it is 6-on-2, and the game's kind of over at this point in time. And I do push a little bit too hard here. I really probably should have just sat in the cap here and waited for this guy to come to me. But instead I rush hard, and this is going to cost me my life here at the end. We do get the first shot to go in, second shot's in, and we miss the third shot. But you can see here, he's able to come around and finish me off with that really fast reload of the Tiger P. But, you know, the team is going to finish this off for the win, and in a very short amount of time here, we did 2,715 damage. But in my opinion, you know, there's a lot of other tanks out there that are more fun to play than the Predator. I mean, if you're a collector of tanks, maybe it's one thing to get this in the bundle. It's obviously the cheapest deal, and you get all of those equipment slots unlocked. But honestly, there's so many better tanks, even in the regular tech tree, that are worth spending some credits on over this Predator. So be that as that may, you know, there's not a lot of tanks that I honestly say do not get this tank. The previous review there on the Vindicator, I mean, yes, it's a big derp gun. It can be fun. To me, there's nothing fun about this tank. There's so many autoloaders in the game now, so that's not really a unique feature. You're big, you're tall, you do bounce shots, but that gun depression at 5 degrees, if they buff that up to 8 or something, then maybe you've got a tank that can really side scrape. But as it is now, it's not worth it, in my opinion. So use your own judgment, take it for what it's worth, and remember, guys, always have fun out there, stay safe, get educated, and of course, don't get fingered. A Littlefinger out.